Today we're going to review your understanding of decimals. Key is place value of decimals. Remember, there's the ones place. After the ones is your decimal point. Then we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. It goes exactly the opposite way, but remember you're adding ths each time to realize that it is in fact a decimal number. Press pause and take a moment and try to find which digit or what place the digit is in. All right, let's take a look. The 3, well, there's the decimal, there's one place and the place after that. I have the decimal, the tenths, and the hundredths. So this 3 is in the hundredths place. Oh, sorry. Now we have the 7. The 7, we have a decimal right here. We have 3 zeros, a comma, which is for the American way of writing decimals, or writing numbers. Not a decimal, it's a comma. And then the 7, which means that it is in front of the decimal, so it's not a decimal place, it is a whole number. We count up, and that would make that into the thousandths place. Lastly, we have 5 in 13 decimal 5, or 13 and 5/10. The 5 is in the spot right after the decimal, which makes it the tenths place. Sorry, tenths place. Looking at 2, we have number 2 in what is now money, $25.75. We've got our decimal. 2 places in front of that decimal would make that a tens place. Not tenths, just tens, because it's not after the decimal, it is before the decimal. Here we have another 4. This 4 is after the decimal, so it should be a decimal place value spot. We have the decimal, and then we have 1, 2, 3 places, which would make it the thousandths. Don't know that I'll fit that in here. Lastly, we have 8 in 11 decimal 8. 8 is right after the decimal place, so that again is the tenths place. Below, what they're asking you to do is write the digit that is in the specific place value spot. So here we have, it's asking for the hundreds place. We have the decimal, the ones, the tens, the hundreds. So 100, it would have to be in front of the decimal, and it's 3 in front of the decimal, so that makes it the 4. That would be this 4, not the other 4. This one we're looking for the tenths place. It has the TH, so we know it has to be after the decimal. The tenths place is directly after the decimal, so that would be the number 1 that is after the decimal. Here we're looking for the thousandths place. Again, that TH tells us it's after the decimal. Thousandths place is 3 after the decimal. That would make it this 5. Here we're looking for the 10 place. There is no TH, so we are looking in front of the decimal. The tens place, we have the decimal, the ones place, and the tens place. That means the 2 is in the tens place. Now we're looking for the hundredth place, has a TH, so we know we need to be looking after the decimal. We have tenths, we have hundredths, the second place after the decimal, which means that it's the 4. Thousandths place, again TH, it's part after the decimal. Thousandth place is the third place after the decimal. That would make this the 3. Tenth, we are looking for the number right after the decimal. That would make this the 0. Thousand, no TH, so it's in front of the decimal. In front of the decimal. Ones, tens, hundreds, so that means 1 is in the thousands place. Now remember, when we are trying to translate decimals into fractions, we need to have a decimal that ends in either 10 or 100, because in our decimal place values we have the tenths place, we have the hundredths place. Oops, ran out of room for the TH there. Making sure that you remember, it could also be out of the thousands place, but we're only worried about tenths and hundredths at this point. Here we have 4 tenths. In our tenths we have 4 colored in. That would be said as 4 tenths. Could be written as this fraction, could be written as this decimal, 0.4. The 4 has to be in the tenths place. So this is where knowing place value is important. Here we have 6/10. That would be 6 over 10. As a decimal, it would be 0.6, 6 ending in the tenths place. Now those two would be easy to compare because they're both out of tenths. Okay. Take a moment and write a fraction and a decimal for each of these pictures. Press pause and go ahead. All right, so all of these are tenths. So as a decimal, it would be out of 10 for each of them. And as a fraction. And as a decimal, it would be in the tenths place. How many do we have shaded here? We have 3. So 3/10 or 0.3, also said as 3/10. In this case, we have 7 shaded, 7/10, or 0.7, also said as 7/10. Here we only have 2, 2/10 or 0.2. Must end in the tenths place. Sometimes we have decimals in the hundredths place, and I know this is quite blurry, sorry about that. I couldn't take a clearer picture. In this case, we have a hundredths grid, and we have only 5 of them shaded, so that would mean it would be 5 out of 100 as a fraction. That now means that it has to have a 5 in the hundredths place, so it has to be 0.0. Next we have our tenths place, so it's not there, and 5. What do we fill in here? We fill in a 0. So 0.05, not 0.5, because then our 5 is in the tenths place, which is the same as 5/10, which this is not. So be careful. Take a moment and shade in on yours. If you have 0.16 on your tenths grid, what would you shade in? 0.51 or 51/100, what would you shade in? Press pause and do so on your page. All right, 16/100 would mean there would be 16 out of 100 colored in, so I know one whole row is 10, and then I need another 6. That shaded in would be 16/100 or 16/100. 51/100 again means I would have 5/10, so that's 5 rows. 4 and 5 plus one more, that would be 51/100. 51 over 100 or 51/100, either one. Now you're going to compare those decimal numbers. Remember, it's easier if you put them into the same number of decimal places or digits, or you can use a picture. Here we have 8/10, so your grid needs to be divided into 10 parts, and you would be shading in 8 of them. I'm going to try that here. And over here you would be shading in 75, and again 75 would mean 7 rows of 10, which is 70. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 5 more. Now we can compare those, which is larger, or we can say, okay, 0.8, I can add a 0 there, compared to 0.75. Well, 75 more is 80 more. Well, 80 is more. And looking at your picture, you can also determine that this one is more. 50/100 and 5/10, shading in 5 rows, because there's 5/10. 50/100, again shading in 5 rows of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 are in fact exactly the same amount, and you could see that if you created equivalent decimals, we can add a 0 on the end here. 50 compared to 50 is in fact equal. Try writing these into their appropriate decimal on your page. Remember, it has to be in the spot, the name of the bottom number, the place value name of the bottom number. Press pause and try it yourself. All right, let's take a close look. 2/10 would be 0.2, 2 being in the tenths place. 6/10, 0.6, 6 being in the tenths place. 9/10, 0.9, 9 being in the tenths place. 4 tenths, 0.4, 4 being in the tenths place. Those ones are pretty easy. These next ones get more difficult. 3 hundredths, so that means we now need 3 to be in the hundredths place. This is the tenths, this is the hundredths. Remember, this is the ones. These we then fill in with zeros. 4 thousandths, again, we need the 4 to be in the thousandths place. After the decimal, we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So our 4 is here. We fill the rest in with zeros. Remember, you cannot fill in with any other digit. All you can fill in with zeros is with zeros. 8 hundredths. Again, we want it to end in the hundredths place. Tenths, hundredths. The 8 is here. We fill these in with zeros. 5 thousandths. That means we need the 5 to be in the thousandths place. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. 5 here. Fill the rest in with zeros. All right, at this point you can go and do your understanding check questions for decimals.